Good morning from Brno, Czechia, or more commonly known in the rest of the world still as the Czech Republic. We had an 8-hour flight from Calgary to Amsterdam, a 5-hour layover, then a couple of hours to fly from Amsterdam to Vienna. Um, that all in all represents a large portion of travel. You factor in the 7 or 8 hour time difference from our home time, and it's like we lost an entire day that just kind of disappeared into the void. But we're here now. We're settled in. We had a chance to check out the market that was just outside of our hotel last night for a few minutes anyway before things started to shut down. And so we're settled in and ready to begin our first full day of touring Europe. So let's see what we find today. So, welcome to Brno. Now, Brno is a city with roughly 400,000 citizens that's located in the South Moravian region of Czechia.
He's an engineer.
My mother-in-law actually arranged for us to meet with a local guide who's going to take us on a walking tour around the old city and show us some of the highlights. No visit to Old Town Hall would be complete without checking out the Dragon of Brno that hangs in the entranceway. The legend is that centuries ago, the people of Brno were being terrorized by a dragon. A visiting butcher came through town and came up with the idea of stuffing an animal carcass full of lime and using it to bait the dragon. And that's exactly what he did. The dragon ate the carcass filled with lime, which then caused it to die, and the dragon had been slain. Now, the dragon ended up being a crocodile, but the people of Brno had never seen a crocodile up until that point. So that was how the legend was born, and the carcass of the dragon hangs here in the Old Town Hall to this day. Some say it's not the original carcass, but go with the legend, eh? Next up on the tour, we have climbed up Petrov Hill to the Cathedral of St. Peter and Paul. The cathedral is the subject of another local Brno legend. This one goes back to the 30 Years' War, which was primarily fought in Central Europe between 1618 and 1648. Our story dates specifically to August the 15th of 1645. The Swedish army was locked in a battle to attempt to conquer the city of Brno. The Swedish general had made a statement that if his army could not take the city by noon on that day, he would withdraw all of his forces. The citizens of Brno moved the clock ahead an hour and had it ring out the noon chimes at 11 a.m. True to his word, the Swedish general had his troops retreat and Brno was saved. And to this day, the noon bells of the cathedral actually ring out at 11 a.m. in memory and to honor this event. Heading back outside the cathedral now and walking along the old city walls. Now, Brno is actually quite a modern city. It's not just the old city center that we've been exploring. The metropolitan area here has about 600,000 people in it, making Brno the second largest city in the Czech Republic, behind only the capital, Prague.
The head was hanging a little bit sideways. What we see here is only 50% of the original cast. The other 50% were destroyed by Napoleon. So
Is it a trabi?
Yes. Or a
Lada, yeah.
And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't show you the stereotypical cobblestone street. I think if you were to ask any North American to describe a feature of a European city, one of the first things that would come up would be cobblestone streets. And yes, here they are. We're going to wrap up our formal guided tour of the city by stepping up to the bell here in the middle of the Christmas market, making a wish and letting it ring out. Now, I suppose if I was a good YouTuber, I would tie this into a request that you subscribe and click on the bell icon to get notified of new videos, but I'm not going to do that to you. I also make wish.
And he breaks it.
Nuclear Bunker 10Z, a Cold War relic. So yes, we have dismissed our guide and let him go on with his personal life, and we're now off exploring the city on our own. And we're starting right here in Bunker 10Z, or 10Z if you're Canadian. 10Z was not purpose-built as a nuclear fallout shelter. In World War II, it was an air raid shelter for the Axis forces, and after the conclusion of that war, it actually served as a wine cellar for a couple of years before it was basically commandeered by the Czechoslovakian army. So it wasn't until 1948 that they actually started outfitting it as a nuclear bunker. Now, the intent was it was going to have a capacity for up to 500 people to remain secured for 3 days. The bunker has about 600 meters of corridors, 65 different rooms covering 1,500 square meters. It had its own water reservoir, its own generator, its own telephone switchboard, and of course, most important I think for surviving a nuclear blast, it had its own air filtration system. That was my foot hitting a chair. Official commissioning of the building took place in 1959, and fortunately, other than for some training exercises, it never saw actual use. Ooh, soda fountain. Or beer tap.
I think so. Hot beer.
The streamline look to it.
10Z remained classified top secret up until 1993 when the Army of the Czech Republic turned it over to Brno City Hall. Now, it was basically secured and left untouched until 2014 when Brno signed a contract with a group to make it into a more public space, and that's what it's really used as today. Not only as a museum with the exhibits showing the history of the bunker, but it also has a small bar and serves meals. You can have it rented out for events and things. And so they've really taken this, relic of the Cold War and turned it into something that's really serving a good public use. It's a really eye-opening experience for someone coming from the Western Hemisphere. Being here in Eastern Europe and seeing this bunker really reminds you that they were just as scared of us as we were of them. All of this was constructed because they were worried about the West nuking them. And it's as I said, it's just an eye-opening experience to see the Cold War from the other side. So if you made it to the end here, I'm going to throw in a little bonus footage for you. Let me preface this with a little bit of an explanation. The day after our Brno city tour, we went to Spielberg Castle, and the footage I captured there didn't amount enough to really justify being its own video. So I put it together and I tacked it on to the end of this one. So stick around. It's only 3 or 4 minutes long, but I think you might enjoy that as well. So Our European tour continues. Today we're checking out Spielberg Castle here in Brno, Czechia. The castle dates back to the 13th century. Now, it's been used for multiple purposes over the years, so it's been reconfigured a few times and added onto and things, but that's kind of its origin point, and you'll see some of those other uses as we go further on here. The section we're exploring here is known as the casements. Now, these date to about 1742 and were part of the reconstruction of the castle into a fortress. Their main purpose was for housing military personnel and supplies and to protect them in the event of a bombing or attack. Now, starting in 1783 under Emperor Joseph II, the purpose of Spielberg changed. It went from being more military and a garrison to becoming a prison. And not just any prison, but a prison that was set aside for the most dangerous or heinous criminals. And there was a lot of nasty stuff that took place back in that era in prisons, as you can see from some of the displays they have set up here.
Around 1925 in place of the former air shaft. Oh yeah, and structural added to the
And back up into the light. Now, having explored the lower levels, you know our goal is always to explore the highest levels as well, and that means the tower. Now, you can see here, this is now, the sun has set. Between the time we came out of the casements and came up in the tower, we explored some of the other exhibits around the castle, so that took a little while. Plus, it got dark really early in the afternoon.
Very windy and cold.
Yes, but it's quite the view.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's quite the climb down.
The wind destroyed my original audio, but what I was trying to say here is, as always, thank you very much for watching. Appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next video.